Hi guys, it's Blackie. It's time for another Thursday night chat. And yes, I put the thing up right there because Mama's Christmas present's right back there and we're not letting her get a preview yet. So, hope everybody's been doing good. We've had a nice, 3.5 inches of rain in the last 48 hours down here, which has been great. I mean, we've been bone dry. And so we needed rain badly. And so, 3.5 inches, good start. It's supposed to keep raining till Sunday. So hopefully we get maybe 10 inches total, which we really need. It's just soaking straight in the ground. There's no puddles anywhere. Uh, Craig, good evening. Sure, I'll take some snow. I love snow. We got snow back in January down here, a foot of it. I'd love for it to snow this month so we get it twice in 1 year. That'd be awesome. Okay. Rhett McElroy, good evening. Jeff, good evening to Missouri. Gray Wolf. We had a gun show connected to the Christmas Bazaar. Awesome. Sounds good. Hey, getting it, that was a thing when I was growing up. You got your first gun on Christmas. It'd be a single shot shotgun most time, but it meant you were now old enough you could go along with granddaddy or daddy or the uncles to go sit in a deer stand or something like that, or go dove hunting. And you got your first 22. Of course, you always got a BB gun first and see how you did with that and then go from that. Those were different times. 2020, hello there. Oh, yeah, I got ready-made snowman. Perfect. Chuck, hello there. Stacy Spark, hello to West Virginia. Oh, yeah, 5 more inches of snow coming. Awesome. Striker, good evening. Ooh, an old Huntsman 50 cal. Gray Wolf, those are cool. Charles, hello there. Hello to Western North Carolina. Hello to Newfoundland, Canada. Silvershire, good evening. Kent, Albert, good evening. Whiteout conditions in New York and 6 inches. Awesome. Singer, good evening. Oh, it's got the 209 type breech plug for firing it. Those are kind of it's easier to find shotgun primers than it is to find caps here lately. So might not be a bad idea to hang on to it. Don't get rid of it. Gary Graham, good evening. Hello to Southwest Ohio. Yep. So my kids got their first guns on Christmas. I didn't get my first gun on Christmas. I inherited my great grandfather's and my grandfather's shotgun when my grandfather passed away. That was my very first gun. And I bought my own first BB gun. And then I traded and bought my own first 22, first handgun and everything. So, everybody else got first guns. It was rarely that case with me. I always had the gun. I'd cut yards, walk dogs, do whatever it took to get the gun. So I would make it happen. It's 40 in Benson. Awesome. Oh, I hear you. That little bitty, yeah, that 209. I got you, Gray Wolf. Hello, Cal Tipper. Hello to Louisiana. Steve Kingsbury. Good evening, brother. Yeah, it's been drizzling rain here and been in the 40s all day. And it might have made 50, but it's been nice and drizzly. which was good. I mean, I kind of enjoy. I like dreary days like that, to be honest. Be a great day to be hunting. I mean, especially when you got a deer stand, you got a roof over your head, where you can sit out of the rain and sit there and watch. Deer don't like it no more than we do, and they'll get up and walk around. And since we got the full moon right now, they're eating all night off the deer feeders everybody's got put out. And so about dawn, they're heading back to bed, and they ain't going to get up, So you just got to catch them stragglers going in and out. Or do you got to be the ones that got up early trying to get to the deer feeder first? That's your choices. So middle of the day, just go home. It just ain't going to happen. Oh, gray wolf. Yeah, the warm air sucked up this undulation that the jet stream and that polar vortex, it slopped over. And so we've got the cold. That means warm air went on the other side. So gray wolf, you got the warm side, and that'll rotate around, and you'll get the cold and we'll get the warm. So it's up, down, up, down. The type of winter that I call a wet cold, because it's going to be cold and then it's going to warm up, then it's going to rain, then the temperature drops, and it's going to be wet, it's going to go, and it's just over and over. That cycle is that those two extremes revolve around. So Striker, what is that jacket you're wearing? This is a military issue one I picked up at at Kaufman Surplus in Sampson. I'm using it as a kind of like a jacket liner to go on my field jacket, but it's a jacket unto itself, got reinforced elbows and stuff like that. They make them in black, coyote brown, and this green. And I just happened to be standing there when she walked up with an extra large, extra long. Well, that's big enough to go over everything on me. So I grabbed it for, I think it was like 45, 50 bucks, something like that. But it's really warm, really nice. Oh, yeah, William. Remington 5.52, 22 long rifle. Buck 112. The gun I remember me and my dad going to get was a Crossman 760 BB gun at the old HS Crest store. And I was like 8 or 9 years old. And my daddy bought it for my birthday. And I think it was like $21 something. And that's back when you could get it well over 1,000 feet per second with a pellet. You could hunt with that thing. It'd go through 1/4-inch plywood. And so I was hunting rabbits and squirrels in the neighborhood with that dang BB gun. And my daddy didn't realize he was thinking Daisy Red Ryder. And then my stepmother came in there and told him that he's walked up with 5 squirrels. And they went, what? And she said, he's just walked in the yard with 5 squirrels. And so Daddy came out, and I'm sitting there going, squirrels? When I had to learn about that there's a hunting season, I didn't know there was such a thing as a hunting season. They never mentioned hunting season in the movies I'd watched. So I got an education in hunting seasons and when you could and could not shoot small game. Thoreau, you got lows in the 20s and 30s in South Carolina. Awesome. Oh yeah, they nerfed the heck out of the Crossman 760. Mine had the old brass charger handle on it, and it was all metal receiver, still wooden stock. Of course, we're talking the early 1970s at that time, and well, it might have been late 60s. It might have been 69, but anyway, you could actually hunt with it. It was powerful enough. Old man of the forest. My wife had a 410-22 Savage. No, hers was a 20 gauge 22 Savage. That was her first gun. Good evening, Bear. Yes, had that wooden 4-stock you pumped up on it. I put a leather strap that I tacked onto it so I could slide my hand into it so I could do it at high speed and pump back up. I could work the bolt, pump that thing up 10 times, be back up real quick. I got a lot of rabbits and squirrels and starlings and crows and everything else with that thing. $14 degrees this morning in Fayette Plateau, West Virginia. Awesome. Exactly that 80s crop. You could still, I mean, you did 5 pumps, target shoot, things like that. 1 pump, that's when you went and you slapped that cat to get him out of the yard. You didn't want to hurt the cat, but you just want to make him get out of your yard. It was the neighbor's cat and he's trying to fight your cat. You 1 pump, poop, and it was like a Daisy BB gun. It just sting him a little and he'd leave. It wouldn't break the skin on him. Same time, 10 pumps, he'd by God blow a hole in him. So, especially with them sharp pellets. Oh, yeah. I mean, Daisy BB guns were great guns, and all of the BB guns were great, fun training guns, just pure enjoyment. Oh, yeah. Might be a white Christmas up there. Cool. Ah, yes. 24 Savage, correct. Yeah, the 2022. We didn't get rid of that gun forever, but then I turned my wife on to a pump 20, and she, I got her a semi-automatic little bitty Marlin 59 that had the short stock and the short barrel. It really, really fit her. And then I got her a pump 20 gauge that had 2 barrels. One was the full-size barrel with screw-in chokes, and the other was the short, compact tactical barrel on it. And that became her set, and she preferred that to that heavy Savage. So, yeah, that was the thing. Whenever the CO2s were more powerful, but you had to buy those CO2s, and we were poor, so I could afford BBs, but I couldn't afford CO2s and BBs. Plus the fact that you put a CO2 in it and you had to use it or it leaked down. And so I couldn't leave it at the ready for a week and then snatch it up, and be ready to go. I'd have to pump up my my 760. But at least I knew, it'd hold pressure. Kept it oiled, it'd hold pressure for an hour or more. And it was easy to unload it and not have to waste and things like CO2s. You had to just shoot it. So. What is the model number of the the first Winchester semi-auto 22? That I don't know right off the top of my head. I'm sure you can research it, though, with things today. But Fishing Golf, good evening. Yep, you like 20 gauges. I started out with a 20 and just stayed with 20. You can tell a difference when you start shooting big beyond 30 yards. If you're trying to shoot long range on like big animals like geese, duck, or trying to shoot deer stuff at longer range, yeah, you can tell a difference. But there ain't enough difference at 0 to say 30, 40 yards to fit between a standard 12 gauge and a standard 20. It's the same shell moving at the same speed. It might be a slightly less payload. That's it. But at the longer distance, you do see it. .32 in Spencer. Awesome. Good evening. Welcome to the talk. Shane Lawson. Okay. Y'all got to forgive me. Sometimes I try to focus in on the name, and what you're saying is lit up, and your name's kind of grayed a little bit, and I'm having to, like what's that say? And I don't want to put on my reading glasses because then I can't see nothing but it. So the model 1903, issued 1903. That makes a lot of sense. 43 in the hill country. I hear you, Justin. Ooh, what would I recommend an air rifle day cheap for hunting? I can't give you in-depth because I don't have a lot of modern, okay? But I do know that whenever I was working at Walmart for all those years, there was a guy that he did a lot with air guns. And at that time, you could buy for around $100. It was a Crossman break barrel 22 air rifle that pushed that pellet out the barrel at 850 to 900 feet per second. Well, that's right at standard 22 long rifle velocity, about 200 feet per second faster than 22 shorts. So that would do basically what any 22 would do within range, within reason. And so those, plus you could buy like 500 of the pellets for under $10. So that's like getting a brick of ammo for $10. It was just a single pump, you're good to go. But I forget the name of it, but we sold them at Walmart, and he swore by them, said they could be accurized. He had good scope on his, and he was sitting there shooting squirrels, rabbits, small game, things like that out to about 40 yards. So. Mitchell, hello to San Diego. What's your favorite holiday pie? Okay. Egg custard. Nobody will make it anymore because they're afraid of it because it's got eggs in it. But egg custard was my all-time favorite pie when I was little coming up. My second favorite was pecan. Yeah, the Lamont is a little bitty short shotgun. It is for true. Oh, no, I didn't mean remove it, like take it out. I mean, just take it out of the pocket because it stays stuck in the back whenever it's zipped up. I didn't mean completely remove it. No. They did make an additional hood that would anchor in to the thing to go over your head. It was like a big polar hood. They did. The Navy had a hood that went on separately. So if you're wearing one of them field jackets, you just put it on separately, and it made it look like a parka. And you had a flap you could tuck down inside, but it didn't necessarily attach. But there were several other hoods you could get. But the internal hood, the thin part that comes out, I didn't say remove it. Sorry. I didn't mean to. If I said I misspoke. And it's got featherweight 12 gauge. Awesome. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, Gray Wolf. That company was making the double 9. Cobra made a double 410 and a double 45 Colt and a double something else. Think of 38. Little bitty double. They used to make these little Derringers, and they make a double shotgun with a folding stock over it. Well, I had one that was a double 410 at one time. Oh, I agree. When it's done well, egg custard is fantastic. Or another one is sometimes called milk pie, which tastes a lot like egg custard. So I just think they don't put the eggs in it. I don't know. But when I was a small boy, a family member would make egg custard pie. And I could eat my weight in egg custard pie or banana pudding, either one. I have worked on cars before regularly for banana puddings. A good friend of mine, she had a Dodge that would eat a starter about every 6 months. I never could figure out the root cause of it. But I would just go and buy 2 starters and keep one in the trunk of her car, and I'd hang on to the other one. And I'd get a phone call going, "I'll be making your banana pudding tomorrow," which meant the starters quit working again. And so I would come over, and I got to where I could jack it up, slide under it, and swap starters in 20 minutes. And she'd make me a big homemade, that was Laura Batchelor, bless her heart, made me a great big banana pudding for me to swap that out. You can buy one Army and one Navy and switch grips, or you can go, if you're getting like a Birdie, I believe you can go to Taylor's and Company and just buy the other grip frame and grip and swap it out. They hook the same, but the trigger guards got to come deeper for the 1860, the 51 Navy, and the back strap's got to come deeper, and the grip's deeper. So you buy a grip for an 1860, Birdie for a Birdie, a Pieta for a Pieta, and it will fit to the frame. And so you can have the longer grip or the smaller grip, whichever one you want. Mm-hmm. Hello to Kentucky. Willie, Kentucky Camper. Hello there. And yes, you can check with numerals. That's correct. Thanks for pointing that out. Dance was empty. I have not tried that. I have heard little pieces about the aerogel insulated stuff. I remember back years ago, they had an idea of a gel pack for extreme cold conditions for like snowmobiles and stuff like that. But I have not physically tried any of them. I'm not in a part of the country that gets that kind of cold and needs them, but I have not had a pair in my hand yet. Jimmy Dunlap, thanks for dropping in. Hope it goes well for you. Hippo, good evening. Yes, you have that banana pudding has the vanilla wafers in with the banana, and then it's got a meringue type top on it. Yeah, good stuff. Ah, John, that's a good idea. If I'd known it back then, that bad diode possibly could be causing it to short itself out. Good point. Yes, they carry flan, which I've eaten a lot of flan too. I like those. It's close. Do you have more reloading press videos? Not at this time, but there will be more coming down the line. Striker, I hear you. I believed in bartering. You know, I could do I was a skinny little thing. I could go right under that Dodge like that. I only had to put a jack on it and lift it up just enough to put a stand under it. And I'd go from that to that clearance, and I'd get under and I'd swap it out. Boom. And in the time it took me to change that starter, she could prepare and put in the oven a banana pudding for me. And so I thought it was a fair trade. Paladin. Oh yeah, you gotta have vanilla wafers. I mean, come on. Oh yeah, egg custard, poor man's pie. Yes. Grey Wolf. Yeah, they changed some. They put so much crap in our food now. When they say don't eat anything raw like cookie dough. When we were kids, you got to clean out the bowl. Mama would hand you the bowl after mixing cake and stuff. Now it'll make you sick because what they're putting in it if it ain't cooked. So. Yep. When it rains like this, you just do something else. I went and shot 2 videos on the back deck because of the weather. So you'll get to see them tomorrow and Sunday. But you just get out there and get wet, which my camera don't like. I don't mind, but the camera does. Or just do something indoors. That's what you do. Andy Knight Muzzleloader, hello to South Georgia. Divinity Fudge, yep. Does the Remington Navy's longer cylinder all for full? Does it need a longer cylinder for 38 special? I don't think it does. It should be the proper length. He uses short 38 special. Okay. Dance with empties, getting down to 1 degree tonight. Got me thinking about warmer gear. Oh, yeah. When the lowest I've camped out was here in Alabama a couple of years ago on top of Duggar Mountain for a frozen foot, and it got to be 4 degrees that night on top of that mountain with about 80% humidity. So that's been the lowest I've hammock camped. It's 4 degrees. Now, Dan Lutz, he did it at 10 below zero up in Ohio with wind chill and all. But that's the lowest I've been able to get down here. Oh, yeah, watermelon pickles. I know what you're talking about. The best way to antique a gun is to plate it in nickel. Well, that'll work. I often wanted to take a brass frame and nickel plate it. And there is black chrome and black nickel. So it doesn't have to be just a shiny. And so I've often thought about doing that. Old man of the forest, I hear you. Rusty tape measure screws antique. Always antique. You've been processing pumpkins today. Cool. You putting them up, you covering them in the rind and putting them up, or you processing them for vegetable, or what you doing? Correct. When you go to 38 in any 36, the bore is automatically bigger. If you don't use a hollow base to expand it out, you're just rattling down the bore. It'll fire, but accuracy will be horrible. You might as well be a smooth bore. They did a conversion years ago where they were trying to convert 44s. It says 44, but a 44 1860, which is actually a 45 because it's 451. And they thought they could fire 427 lead out of it, and it just kind of skipped down the bore because it's undersized. Today they convert them to 45 Colt, which is correct bore size and will work. I remember when they were first starting to do cartridge conversions, they started trying to make it do 44 special, and the first guy brought them out, said 44 Colt, which they haven't loaded in God knows how many years, and it's just a shortened 44 special case. They'd be too short. That way a 44 special couldn't fit into it. So you couldn't put modern ammunition in it. And he did 44 Colt. And I had a open top in 44 Colt for about 5 years and shot it and really enjoyed it. But if you tried to load a full length 44 special in it, it was too long for the cylinder. I hear you, Justin, on a 1911 in blued chrome. Justin, have you ever looked at what Uberti puts out? They make a real nice color case one that's really nice. Yep, blued chrome is a thing. Correct. Okay, let me scroll on down here. Don't want to get behind. Black powder is lighter than smokeless because it makes more smoke and burns more powder. Actually, it's because black powder is a Class A explosive, and so it detonates. It's all consumed as it's going down the barrel. Smokeless is a Class C flammable, and so it burns as it goes down the barrel. That's the reason you get a longer barrel, you get more velocity out of it. And it's a boom versus a bang. And most black powder is more of a boom when it goes off. Most smokeless powder is more of a bang. It's just the easiest way to tell them apart when you're a little distance away. Okay, y'all are talking fast and fancy. I'm having to catch up. Mike Simmons, good evening, brother. Plastic on your windows. I hear you. Block out them breezes. Yeah, I agree with you, Justin. That blue chrome looked more like nitrided. Hello, Charles. I'm doing pretty good. Ground fog, good evening. Yes, brass will darken, tarnish, unless you put. Good evening, War Donkey. You can wax it or lacquer brass to keep it from tarnishing. Otherwise, you got to shine it up a lot. I got something new. This is a prototype that Trinity has sent me, my niece. Just got it in. Have not opened it as of yet. Thought I would do it now. A Cordura Weehawk. Flat bottom and everything. Roll it over. Double D's. D-rings. Slide it back through. Locks up good and secure. Military type webbing. Same type of thing on it. A Sparrowhawk in Cordura with the flat bottom. Question is the size of it. Make sure. This is a prototype now. Pretty cool. And a prototype Nighthawk with the webbing and the double D's and the rings for the straps, and the lower double rings for the attachment of the belter, etc. And it does have the extra pocket in the back to fit the back pad. Okay. So Blackie has got some testing to do. You wouldn't have thought all of that would have fed into that little bitty package, would you? All right. Uncle Blackie has got some field testing to do in the next couple of weeks. We shall see. Don't know anything beyond that. Like I said, it's a prototype, but just letting you know. Let me see. Dale, good evening. Dale Morris, I should say. Thought you were pulling out gators. I hear you. Anybody here got experience owning a J.M. Cooper double action revolver? Sorry, I do not. BK, good evening. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like the jacket liner. Yes, I agree with you, Justin. I'd love for Remington to bring out their Rider double action. Getting them to do it, though. I mean, back when all the companies were competing against each other, they had to have a niche. Now they're all owned by one entity, so there's no reason for them to compete with each other. And getting them to bring out something new is like pulling teeth. They'll change finishes, they'll make engraving, they'll change sights a little. But getting to start up a new tool line to make a new design, very difficult. Yugoslavia. Awesome. Captain Beefheart. Cool. Growing your beard to be Santa. Oh, yeah. Yes. Beretta, what it was, I think Beretta bought out Uberti and another company over there. And then Beretta bought Taurus and bought Rossi. Taurus bought Rossi. Then Beretta bought out Taurus and bought out Uberti. So it's all under Beretta now. You know, it's kind of cherished there or whatever. And that's the reason you'll see Rossi showing up with another name on it. Like Heritage now has a 92 copy that's basically made by Rossi. You know, which is when you get the Uberti and you get the Rossi and you get the Taurus lever action guns, it's basically the same gun. So they're all kind of together now. Oh boy. Yeah, but Gray Wolf, a Savage, those things are complex. Do you know if Captain Ball is reliable in extreme cold weather like negative 15 or so? Yes, they will fire just fine in that kind of temperature. The lowest I have ever shot one was 25 below zero. And that's back when I was a trucker and I was up north and they had been a animal got hit and in a traffic thing going down the road. And when I pulled up, the animal had his back broke, but was alive. And so I went up and entered a coup de grace to put him out of his misery with a 1860 Army. And it was 25 below. And it had been out in the 25 below more than an hour whenever I had to fire it. So it wasn't like coming out of the house with it and going bang. It was at ambient temperature and it fired just fine for me, you know. But if you put some sort of oil in it, it gets thick. That might slow everything up, you know. That's the only thing I can think of that'll really affect it. Hoggy, good evening. Hoggy 1963. Awesome. Question, Great Hat. How can Beretta avoid the Sherman Antitrust Act doing business here in the U.S.? Probably because of the fact that they do have factories here in the U.S. For example, like when you get a Taurus has a factory in the U.S. and they make a shorter barrel than you can import. So they have I think it's got to be 2 inches or 3 inches or so. And they have in their lines you can buy. What it is they make a gun that's it's finished and it's got the barrel sticking out another 3 inches, like a blank. And so they can import them from Brazil to the factory here in the U.S. and the U.S. chops it off and crowns it. And that's considered finishing. And that's how it's allowed. So I'm betting that's what they're doing. They're using some sort of manipulation of maybe they're making the receivers here and making all the parts there, sending them here and putting it all together. There's, if there's a lawyer, there's a way to find a way around it. You know what I mean? Don't have to hold the cold gun. I hear you. Yes, the same Beretta that's got the contract for the 45. Yeah. Richard, howdy. That's just the thing. When there was a company called Freedom Group, and for many, many years, after the Great Depression, after World War II, the government had a lot of the best, brightest minds sit down and figure out what kind of caused the Depression to last so long. Okay. And one of the things they said was that common sense, Karen, hello there, that people didn't trust banks anymore. So they wasn't putting their money in a bank. And if you didn't put your money in a bank didn't have the money to loan to somebody else to start a business or whatever. So the system kind of broke down. So they said, okay, the way we're going to fix that is we're going to create two kinds of banks. There's a savings bank and there's an investment bank. We put our paycheck, stuff like that, into a savings bank. An investment bank is, I need $20 million to bring this product to market. You went to an investment bank to get that. And the law said that those two banks cannot be co-owned, shared, loan money to each other. They are polar opposites and are forbidden to be in business with each other. Period. And it worked for like 50 years, 60 years. And then under Bush 1, they deregulated the banks. Remember that? Oh, we know what we're doing. We'll deregulate. And all them companies went together like WAP and formed these groups. And so millionaires, billionaires, and big banks went to curbing their money together. They went around buying up industries because now they got the money to do it. And so Freedom Group bought into the mortgage companies and into the housing companies and things like that. And that's the reason house prices shot through the roof to ridiculous. The same house that sold for $85,000 10 years later was $385,000 to build the same house. Okay. And then they said, we're too big to fail. And then in 2008, it failed. That big pyramid scheme collapsed. And the housing collapsed. Well, one of those big, huge groups, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, was called Freedom Group. And Freedom Group got out of it, the housing industry, and went to buying up every gun company in the United States. Every gun company, every bullet company, every powder company, every primer company, every scope company. If it made the gun go bang, they bought it up. Either they buy you or they bought up your shares until they controlled you. Either way, until they owned every company in the United States except one, and that was Wyndham. Remington said, "Oh, we're just going to keep everything the way it is." Wyndham had started out making these AR-15 pistols for long-range target shooting, and it scaled up to where he was making an AR rifle at that point. It was considered a very, very good rifle, and so, but it was called Bushmaster back then. Remington said, "We're going to keep everything the same. We just want to put everything under one house." So he agreed, and he sold the company. The old gentleman was a multi-billionaire, and he's 80-something years old. So he sold the company. They came in, fired everybody in the factory, sold everything in the factory and everything, and took the little roll stamp that rolls the name Bushmaster, and went back to New York for Remington to make them. They were crap. Remington had no way of knowing how to build an AR, and they were garbage. You could sit there and rock the receivers back and forth and see light between them. And so Wyndham went back into business. He rehired every single person they had fired, from the janitor to the general manager, built his own factory, and today it's called the Wyndham rifle. But Ruger bought themselves back out, but they were owned the same way. And so that's the reason they started getting rid of competition. Well, it was the Remington versus the Ruger versus the Savage versus they owned all of them. Why compete with each other? So you start seeing these types of guns disappearing, like the H&R single shot. We get rid of that. They put them out of business. Now they're back in business, and now they build ARs. It's still Remington. Remington got the name. So they're building what was the Bushmaster, but they're now calling it an H&R. You know, and they want the Henry now to make the single shot shotguns. So they're doing that market, so we ain't going to compete with our own self. And it's all these companies under one umbrella called the Freedom Group. So that's one of the reasons that, man, what happened to these certain shotguns, these certain guns? We're not going to compete with ourselves. This one sold better than the other two. Eliminate all the other competition. Pieta doesn't make the 49. Correct. Well, look, not at my last that I'm aware of they hadn't. Correct. That's when that ammo drought was so bad. I hear you. Went out of business. Wyndham did. To my knowledge, whenever I got out in 2020, as I said, Wyndham was the only company that was not owned or controlled by Freedom Group, period. You know, and that's the reason you see now black powder. GoX had a fire, got bought out by this company. They came in and said, "We're going to make GoX again, black powder." They went to start doing production, and now in just the last few weeks, another company's bought them now, and that's an aerospace industry. That ain't a gun company. Yeah, but they came in, they bought it. And when they asked the general manager, "Is this going to mean we ain't going to be able to get black powder anymore?" So it shouldn't, you know, things should stay like they are now. You can't find it. So, but the vast majority of the black powder that they make is going to the military for use in artillery shells. Those 5-inch shells and stuff that the Navy still uses on their ship, they've got black powder in them. So us guys using it for our little guns, that's such a small fraction of the market. I'm amazed we still can get it. I agree, Jeff. It's like Teddy Roosevelt, start breaking up monopolies. We need competition. Oh, they can't do it. They did it to Bell Telephone, didn't they? Broke it up overnight to make competitive. They really need to bring back and start doing a lot of that and looking at these industries. Look at what all Google controls and owns. I mean, wow. And so that's a monopoly. We need to break that up. Who? What? Why? Yeah. You think your life would be better or worse? But anyway, let's get back into the topic of witchcraft. Get out of that thing. I fully agree. Competition's a WD-40 that keeps capitalism working. Right. If I don't like your product, I'll go somewhere else. Um, when you go look at a Ford pickup and they're $100,000 now, are you out of your ever loving mind? A few goats for milk, butter, cheese, meat, Rhode Island red chickens for eggs and meat, save your seeds, cabin spring water. Yep, you can do it all your own. I had a friend it's been 20 years ago now, but he bought some land and he built a house. What he had done is his father's business was building in-ground pools. So he understood excavation and ground pressures and everything else. And so he built a home half in the ground and half out of the ground. And then after he had built it and set it up, he buried it with the dirt he had excavated out. And it was built to be that way. So there were skylights and things to bring light in. But he was doing it to make sure that hurricanes couldn't hurt him. Well, the year-round temperature inside of his house was about 65 degrees. Year-round. Didn't matter if it was 110 outside or 20. It was 65 degrees in the house. He didn't need heating or air conditioning. It was always the same, you know. He had well water. He had solar power to power the well pumps and stuff like that. Had a big old garden. He had everything. He said, the only thing I pay for is phone and for garbage pickup. That's all he paid, you know, because all of his power needs were covered. All of his water needs were covered. All of his sewage needs were covered. All of that. I paid for power and I paid for that. And then whenever Alabama State came in and said that you can be a generating point, which means in Alabama, if you put up big solar panels or a generator, they'll come put a special power meter on your house that can run backwards. So if you turn on your solar or whatever, and it'll start running the meter backwards as you're feeding power into the grid. You're a power generator for the state then. And he said on average he was getting a check for around $400 a month from the power company for his solar chargers that were charging his house and running everything. So in essence, he had free power and was getting paid to produce power for the state of Alabama. Oh, Jeff, yeah, full-size pickup used to be dirt cheap. Now, God, no. And that's a lot of these new trucks, they're designed to fail after so long. I mean, you don't have to look far on the internet to see all these pickup trucks broken in half on the side of the road where they were towing a trailer or they had whatever and they hit a bump and the frame broke. Now, let that sink in a minute. Let me understand this. A brand new pickup truck, a year or so old, and under a standard load, we're not talking about something stupid, ridiculous that an 18-wheeler should be hauling, but the frame broke. That just doesn't work well for me. And I used to play around a lot with classic trucks. I worked on the 70s and 80s, mostly 70s type Chevy pickups and stuff, and had one for many, many years. And a good friend of mine started with one. He went and found one out behind a barn somewhere that was in good shape. He came in, he stripped it down to the frame, cleaned it up, did everything. He put a brand new crate motor in it with a warranty, brand new transmission with a warranty, overdrive transmission. He put all the accessories he wanted on it. He put brand new air conditioning and everything. And his total investment was $41,000 for a brand new truck, basically, that had all digital, modern, state-of-the-art, everything in it. He said it just looks like a 1968 Chevy, but it's got state of the art, and I paid $60,000 less than I'd buy it at the dealership right now. You know, 55 Willys, awesome. Oh, Dance with Empties, thanks. I'll check into that. Right, I agree. $100,000 more than that. My house originally sold for $85,000 in 1980. By 1990, they told me it was valued at $385,000. I went, it's the same house. You know, it's just the way it is. So somebody says $100,000, it's got to be a house. I'm not paying that for a vehicle. You know, period. Sorry. Gray Wolf, yeah. I know somebody who's up north, and what he does, he makes a good living doing it. They'll take the brand new Dodge diesel pickups, and he's explained to me that when you look at the part number on the lifters in the engine, every one of the lifters, the last two digits is 08, except the front left one, which is 09, and it's a softer material. And so that you'll get the truck, you'll take care of it and everything, and after about 2 to 3 years, it'll go to tapping, and it won't idle right, and it'll give you all kinds of trouble. And you bring it in the dealership, and they'll tell you got to trade it in, and it's 09 wears out faster, and they put a new 09 in it and sell the truck, and it runs like a brand new truck. So what he does is a lot of the contractors up there where he's at have figured that out, and they'll buy the truck because they got to have them for work, right? They'll bring them to him brand new off the showroom floor. He'll snatch the intake off of it and put in a 08 will drop into the 09 hole. And those trucks will then run 300,000 miles before they wear out, as opposed to the one that about 100,000 miles, it'll go to tapping like crazy and make you think it's about to sling a rod. So he does that up there, and he's making a good living doing that. The frame was made from Chinesium. I agree. Well, that's one of the things they'll do now is I may have to move at some point in the future. Because, like I said, when I got here, there was nothing behind us. Now there's houses behind me. And it started about a year ago. I noticed that they had ran brand new high tension power lines toward my area. Now, there hasn't been a new house built in this area in 10 years, except one street over. But in 10 to 15 years, this place has been static. Most of these houses have been here for 40 years or 50 years. See, it's an old area. And yet, here's these big power lines coming when this area doesn't require it. It can run off of one single power line, single strand. And they ran 3 strand in. That's corporate type. That's like factory type. That's like bid. And suddenly I get in these mailed to me house offers offering 3/4 of what the house is listed for. We'll pay you right now in cash, and you don't have to move out. You can stay there for up to 4 years before you got to go. That tells me they know something I don't. That something's coming, and they don't care about my house. They'll build it's a hunk of land it's sitting on. And so if they're going to take all these cotton fields back over that way and turn them into a big, huge factory or whatever, or worse, a huge housing area with all kinds of houses. Blackie just might have to move out because I am not a middle of town type person. I'm the outskirts of town type person. I want some woods. I want some wildlife. I want some nature. And being in the middle of a city is not where I want to be. So me and my wife are talking. If that happens, we're going to have to pull stakes at damn near 70 and move somewhere else. But we'll do it because I am not going to be in the middle of a city. Just ain't going to do it. Yeah, Bear has room in his backyard. Yeah, he probably would. He probably got a little land he could let me have a little square of, you know. Hardin, they would not. If it was a factory, it wouldn't bother me as much as a housing area would. You know, if it was an industrial factory, I would probably be fine with it, to be honest with you. But if it was in the middle of all these ritzy houses, you know, $300,000 houses, and all these people driving $100,000 Suburbans and stuff, looking down their nose at the old guy in the hat. Yeah. No. Sorry. The song from Paint Your Wagon, the first thing you know, they go where it's pretty and they put up a city. So nothing that's pretty can grow. They civilize the winter and they civilize it enter a place too uncivilized, even for snow. Yeah, because then you got the HOAs, yeah, and everybody else coming around going, we need to change that. I was here 40 years before you, Sparky. Yes, but we're trying to keep our property values up. Uh-huh. Thank you, Bear. Yeah, we got to get Hillbilly. Get me a goat farm. Yeah. That'd work. I'm putting in 100 goats in the back 40. It could happen. You never know. Yeah, they want to tell you how to live on your own land. No, I want trees. Little House on the Prairie. I'm sure most of you never read that book in school, but I did in like second grade. But why are they moving? It's because her daddy said that you could see the breakfast smoke of his neighbor, and that was too close. If you could see your neighbor's, smoke from their house, they lived too close to you. It's time to move. Bigger land, bigger open area. I'm very blessed and lucky to have some really good family and friends that have offered to, they've got hunks of land and they've offered me to have a little bitty square as a loaner until me and my wife are done. After that, it revert back to them. So we shall see. RNSO Outdoors, they're developing everywhere. Prices only going up, salaries not so much. I see big picture stuff. That's what I did in college and everything else. We have issued more industrial build permits in the United States since 2020 than we did in all of World War II combined. And we're in a growth phase for the American economy. But we've got to build the infrastructure and build the factories to be able to hire the people to get there. And once all these big places they're talking about start coming online, and suddenly they got to have workers and they need you to work, and you'll see wages going up because then you'll have a shortage of workers and you got to pay workers to get workers. You never want to be in a situation where there's 500 people there trying to get 3 jobs because they can pay dirt poor wages. They know they can replace you like that. I had a cotton mill at the top of the street when I was a boy, and that's the way it was. They'd work you till you were dead. And if you even look cross-eyed, they'd fire you on the spot because they knew they had 5 more poor people lined up, ready to come in the door begging for a job. But on the other hand, whenever you've got skilled workers and they're walking out the door because they'll take a nickel more an hour because it's an improvement, you'll have to pay them to keep them. And I've seen that happen too. And I hope to see it happen again. That's when people could amass money to be able to have the money to get the good car, to pay for the education for their kids, to, take care of all of that. That comes. But you got to have the factories, you got to have the jobs here for people to work in, to earn the money, to grow up. It's one of them things. Oh, yeah, I hear. If I was within earshot of an HOA, I'd buy a cannon. I hear you. Pipe Smoker, hello to Valley Forge. Ain't it though? Yeah, when COVID hit and suddenly they could pay more money for the people who stayed. Yeah. Yeah, Paladins, and I like what I like the man, he does the dirty jobs series, but he said, AI is coming for all the programmers and all that white collar stuff. He sure ain't coming for the electrician and the plumber and the welder. I saw a stat the other night that right now, today, the U.S. military needs 6 million welders. 6 million right now, today, either in civilian or enlisted form, just to maintain what we got. They need to be that many welders in the U.S. military. So if you got one of them kids that's just not book smart, but they're great with their hands, get them to be a welder, get them to be a plumber, get them to be a pipe fitter. The average plumber makes more than the average doctor, and it's all hands-on. The average electrician, a real electrician, makes more than a doctor, and it's hands-on. How do you get a job? Walk in to a plumber and say, I understand you're looking for somebody to dig. You're going to start out digging the holes. Be willing to learn. Be teachable. You will learn. And pretty soon, you're not digging holes anymore. You're doing something more important. And you start working your way up and your pay goes up. Same thing with electronics. Electrician. Every one of them is always hunting somebody to help pull cable and etc. They're always looking. Boys and girls can do the jobs. If you can do the job, you can make money. And with the growth, just the sheer amount that we're seeing that's popping up, they're clearing out to build these factories and everything else. They're going to need carpenters, electricians, all these hands-on type thing. Bring back trade schools. Not everybody needs to go to college. That's not a detriment to them. They're just some people who are better with their hands than that. And we need those people because you can have a whole lot of Ivy League, MIT geniuses. Their butt ain't worth much on a pig farm in Alabama, as my granddaddy used to say. He can be a brilliant MIT scientist, but his butt ain't worth nothing on a pig farm in Alabama. It's what the job is. And there's a whole lot more. Right now, we got too many in the intellectual side and not enough in the get dirty side. And we need more of those get dirties because they can make a good living at it. Exactly. And skilled labor doesn't have 4 years to pay it off. It's pay as you go. You're not even having to pay them. They're paying you to learn. I'm on a P River Electric down here. And I get things in my bill every so often saying we're looking to hire 5 people, that they will train you from the ground up. Most of my local businesses around here got signs up everywhere. Alabama is at like 2% unemployment. The Alabama economy is booming, and we're attracting a lot of people from other places because of that. Businesses, factories, companies, because we're very pro business, very pro here. And we've got a really, really good hands-on working pool of people. And so if you're looking to start a factory or set up a business and you want people you can pull off the street and in relatively a little amount of time have them doing the job, Alabama's a place to come to. Yeah, globally they're hurting for any kind of trained labor like that. And young people today, I would really encourage, like I said, not that kid that's just a brain, yeah, encourage them, go all the way. Like I've told several of my friends, his daughter has really, really good scores. And I told her, I said, she needs to go into the Air Force. Look, not just blanket into the Air Force, look for something that immediately rolls over into a civilian job, in aviation or in something, electronics, something like that, because she's got the mind for it. The Air Force is the place you send the kids they're the brains. Army, Navy, great specialty areas. Like if you're going in medical field, go Navy. They got the best Navy. The Navy has the best medical of all of them, really. And so if you're wanting to go in the medical field, go Navy. If you're wanting to be something like engineers and stuff, want to learn how to run bulldozers, drive trucks, all that stuff, heavy equipment, Army, best place to go. Marines, if you break stuff and you love to bust stuff up and you like to drink, Marine Corps, they love people like you, So they will teach you how to get your stuff lined up, and you get to break a lot of stuff too. So right, I mean, think about it: welding, electric, plumbing. Oh, truck drivers, dude. Did you just see? And we're not going to get on political stuff. Let's stay off of that topic. But you saw where California had to revoke 17,000 illegal alien truck drivers' CDLs because they'd been handing them out to illegals to drive trucks. 17,000. Yeah. There's such a shortage of truck drivers. And today, boys and girls can both be truck drivers. The trucks are power steering and they're autos today. I couldn't believe they're automatic transmissions and 18-wheelers. But my brother-in-law drives, and he told me, no, they're all automatics. You're kidding me. I remember my truck didn't have no power steering, and you had to shift in gears. You had to know what you were doing. And so he ain't even got to do that. He's got a internet connection, and he's got live cameras and everything else going down the road. We didn't have any of that stuff. We had to navigate on our own. So he's got GPS telling him exactly what door to back up to. And you just gave a date, a name, and a place in a town, and that was all you had to, and you had to get there somehow. So times have changed. Yes, firefighters. Oh, yeah. A lot of people, William, I drive a Class B vehicle, $1,000 a week ain't unusual. I have a friend of mine, he drives tour buses. He got a CDL. He went to work for his local school. They're always looking for bus drivers for school buses. He drove a school bus for 2 years to prove his record. And then he went to this company that they do tour buses. And so he went to driving for the tour bus. He's making like $1,600 a week. And all he does is he drives from the casinos to Atlanta. That's it. He's a loop. So he picks people up in Atlanta. He drives to the casinos. He sits there. He takes a nap. 8 hours later, he turns around, he runs back, and another one's coming. So no matter how long you're at the casino, you're within like 2 hours of another bus showing up, but his bus rotates every 8 hours. And so he runs back to Atlanta. He's down for 8 hours, and he runs back to Atlanta. He's making like $1,600 a week doing that. I mean, wow. I had to run coast to coast. I didn't run coast to coast, but I had to run hard in my day, hauling multi-million-dollar radars to military bases and everything else. And I wasn't making anywhere near that kind of money. You know, I might make $2,000 in a month. And here he is making $1,600, you know, in a week. So, wow. Matt Thompson, yep, we had to read maps, you know, and you had that old dog-eared map because they'd tell you, okay, Blackie, you're going to Boston, and I'd have to get out the address. There wasn't no internet to look it up, and you had to go get and look at the map and try to find the city street. And if it was so small or the city so big, you'd have to get close enough to it that you could get a local city map. It used to be just a city map of New York and Boston and Chicago and Philadelphia and stuff like that. And you'd end up with a map of all the major cities as well as the Rand McNally to get there. And you'd have to find what that street is and how to get to it and how to get back out while driving, while navigating without any GPS or nothing. If you broke down, you had a CB. That was your way of getting help. Blackie, did you float the gears or double clutch it? Usually floating them, but if I was going uphill, I'd double clutch, keep my RPMs up. Harden, that's true too. A lot of times they hire somebody in and they don't understand the job they're being hired in to do. They got no experience of it. Wages still ain't keeping up with inflation, though. They have not. I saw it's been several years ago, but it was a college level, and was explaining that the 1960 minimum wage, which was like $1.25, I think it was, an hour, for a 40-hour week at $1 an hour, that much money was enough to rent a house, buy a car, have a TV, pay for the wife and the 2 kids. Yeah, it was tight, but there was enough money there to do all of that. The equivalent, to bring it up, and that was in 2020, to bring it up to 2020, you'd have to make $48 per hour today in 2020 to equal the buying power you had in 1960 at $1.25 an hour. So, yep, little or nothing. That is correct, Harden, and that's the thing. You can't just automatically say I'm going to pay my workers more, because then you got to raise your prices to generate that money, and then business will go somewhere else. It's been a lowest denominator, period. You know, who's the cheapest, period. That's how Walmart made their empire, being cheaper than everybody else. You know, bottom line. But Walmart has never been famous for paying their people very good wages. Now have they? Either. And so they ran out all the competition. They'd come into a town, they'd set up, and they'd put the local tire place out of business because they couldn't compete with the prices and tire rotations and stuff. They'd put the local pharmacies out of business. They'd put the grocery stores out of business because they couldn't compete with them price. And then suddenly this little Walmart is the town now. See? And so they'd put everybody out of business. But then they paid crap wages, you know. To change it, it's got to be where there's competition, and you've got to be competing between businesses. Like for a while there, Target and Walmart were in competition for workers, because if you had a Target set up like in Dothan and Hyman Enterprise, they'd pay 50 cents more an hour to come work at Target. Well, people bailed out because they was tired of being treated like garbage, and they went to work at Target down there, and Walmart was losing trained, qualified people that knew their job, and Target was getting them and not having to train them. And so that caused a little bit of, we'll give you more money if you just stay competition. So JB Caudell Knives, hello, brother. Exactly. Now you're right. Now we're stuck with Walmart. We need small businesses. Now you're seeing small businesses pop back up, but not in things that can directly challenge Walmart. So you're seeing coffee shops pop up that do little bakery things, okay, that are better than what Walmart's got. And then we have a local thing that's popped up down here, and it's a big cattle industry started butchering their own cattle. And so they have their own meat market now. Fantastic. You get really good meat at a very competitive price, and Walmart can't match that because they got standard cuts of meat. You can't get a crown roast. You can't get a 2.5-inch thick T-bone. You can from this guy. And so that's putting Walmart in a bind because they can't compete with him because of what he's offering. I'll pay a little bit more if I get what I'm asking for. See, and so the pendulum's got to swing. We've seen it swing hard this way. I'm believing it's going to swing back the other. We just got to hang on long enough to get there. Oh, yeah, Mitchell. Exactly. The 2-inch thick pork chops you cut and you stuff it. Yeah. Yeah. You got to find a place that does that kind of butchering to get it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Walmart put a lot of companies out of business. And I can talk about it. I don't work there anymore. They went to Rubbermaid and they said, hey, these rubber totes you got as well as trash cans, we really like these rubber totes. How much do you got to get for a bulk count of 1,000 of this? How much is the price? And so Rubbermaid quoted them the price. And they said, how many of these do you make a year? And they said, I'm just making up numbers. We make 1 million a year. And Walmart said, how much would you need for you to make 5 million a year? And Rubbermaid went, whoa, we can't handle that kind of number. I said, well, how much money up front would you need for you to be able to do that so you could build the factory you needed? So Rubbermaid went and built new factories, hired a bunch of people, and went to producing 5 million a year. And Walmart went to selling them. And we're just making up numbers here. Walmart said, okay, our cost is $5 a piece for these things. We're trying to cut our cost. Can we drop it down to $4.85? Well, your 80% of your business now goes to Walmart. So yeah, you dropped it down to $4.85, and then they come back in like 2 quarters later. Can we drop it down to $4.60? Can we drop it down? They know how much it's costing you to make it, and they slash you down until you're making 1% profit. That's what Rubbermaid was stuck with. After they, it didn't happen overnight, but Walmart dialed them down to 1% profit. Well, you can't pay retirees, you can't expand nothing, you can't buy new equipment, and 80% of your business is going to Walmart. Until finally you can't do it. You say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't cut anymore. And Walmart went, okay, we're not going to need any more. And suddenly you ain't got no orders, and you've got all these factories with all these people and all this equipment, and your entire rest of the world is this much of this. And you go out of business. And then Walmart comes in and buys up your patents for those tubs and sends them to China and has them made for dirt cheap prices. They did that to a lot of American companies. Yep. Let me see. Yeah, Andrew, you're get paid as a firefighter EMT $12 an hour. They start people at McDonald's down here for $12 an hour, and you got at least a year worth of college or EMT training to be able to be back there, and they're paying you $12. Yeah, Walmart will start you out at that price for just to throw boxes up on a shelf. It's not correct. But the only thing that's going to make it happen is bring in competition. Blue cat crawfish. I'm in my 60s, mid 60s. I drove back in the 80s. I came off the road in May of 89. Drove 18 wheelers back in. Yeah, exactly. Sears did it, and then Walmart followed the Sears idea, but they went into the towns that Sears said were too small and set up, and that's what Dollar General is doing today. You do know that the two grandsons of Sam Walton own Dollar General, and they're doing exactly what Granddaddy did. There's only like 4 people that work at that building, and it's another one of them. They'll throw you out. One complaint, they'll throw you out the door and hire somebody else. So it's the same thing Granddaddy did. When and where are the chicken dinner is the stockholders who's running this country. Exactly. They've all made a gigantic monopoly. It looks like they're all separate companies. There's not. The thing that I saw a thing a couple of years ago, I don't know, but it was saying that the Fortune 500 companies, all of the Fortune 500 companies were owned by 4 companies. Owned, all of those 500 companies are owned by 4. And it was supposed to be down to 2 by 2026 because they're going to buy out their competition. Teddy Roosevelt was right. Get rid of monopolies. You have to have competition, because if one voice owns all of them, there is no variety. You can pay dirt wages because nobody can jump to another thing if you own that company too. And so the thing to do is break up the monopolies. Yeah. Washburn Billy, about 10 degrees, no snow today. Cool. Gunsmith 4570. We don't need to get rid of Walmart. We need to come up with a competition for them. Bottom line, they're the only game in town, and that's true of so many little towns. But it's time for us to come up with some competition for them. But one of the things that's really hurting Walmart is invested so heavy in China. And like I said, I see big things. I still study a lot of stuff that is beyond witchcraft. One of the things is that China's collapsing. Their manufacturing is down by 97%. That's their statement for the year 2024. Orders from America down by 97%. And so huge factories are just shutting down. It's gone. I called about 3 years ago. I called a bunch of my younger friends and said, if you're going to get a phone, get it now, because Apple's about to pull out of China. Oh, no, they'll never do that. Then Apple pulled out of China. They're restarting the supply chain, but it's going to take 3-4 years to get the supply chain really going. And so the best phone that China can produce is about a 1990s phone compared to today's. They were making them there, but who was actually creating the chip was a machine sitting in China, probably a Chinese guy running it, but the technician walking around that understands and he's running all the stuff was an American or a Japanese or a Brit. And it was controlled either from Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, or Silicon Valley, California. And whenever, remember Biden said, which had started with Trump, but Biden actually implemented it, that any American living in China working for these companies had 30 days to leave China or forfeit their U.S. citizenship. And they all left within 10 days. And the last thing they did was update and wipe the memory on the machine. So they physically got the machine still sitting there in China, but they wiped the memory on it, and it doesn't. Those machines are made in Norway, and they have never had in China the techniques to program that machine to do what it was doing. And so they can't. And so those chips went gone. And this computer that you're actually on, I'm doing this with right now, was a Hewlett Packard. It was a gaming computer. And at that time, these were selling for like $500. And I purchased mine. And this hit within like a week of me purchasing it. And while it was en route to me, the people that had these things were taking them apart because the chip inside of it suddenly became worth $2,500 for the chip that's inside of a $400 or $500 computer. And so when I got it, I got mine in before that. I literally got it in while people were doing it. And then a lot of these HP computers showed up on eBay saying $400, no chip, because the chip was worth $2,500 because getting those chips. Yep. Right. We're going to, China and them going to pay high tariffs. The United States functioned strictly on tariffs up till they invented income tax. And we could go back with our economy is still the biggest economy in the world. If we went back to just pure tariff, we would pay the national debt off in less than 12 years. That's not me saying it. That's the rest of the world's financial people saying it. What they're screaming about how much money, but they can't say no because we're the biggest economy. Okay, we've got completely off the topic. We're not talking about bushcraft. We're talking about other stuff. And we're going to get back off that. So, we're going to call it quits. I will be doing some field tests on the new stuff, and I'll let y'all know a little bit later when we're ready and Trinity's ready to go live. I'll do an introductory video of it coming up. I am going to be doing catch everybody up right quick. We had said we were doing an end of the year run on the haversacks and everything. That had to be canceled because the material, the canvas, did not show up to us. It was promised to be at a certain date, and it never showed up. Well, it's finally showed up. I had to cancel and refund everybody's money from that run that was supposed to be right about now, be mailing out. But finally, that has showed up. So we're doing a run. Down there in the description box, I've got the thing where it says blackoracle69@hotmail.com. That is the email you're going to go to. Holler at me there. I will send you a price list, and this will be delivering in February. Okay. So we physically got the canvas now so we can do a run. And if I sell out and you contact me, and I'll tell you, I'm sorry, we're sold out. If I send you the thing, it means we're still running. But if you ask for a price list and I tell you, I'm sorry, we're sold out, of haversacks, whatever, I'll tell you then. Okay. But this will be short and sweet and quick to get everything back rolling. And it will deliver in the month of February. That's the game plan. So if you got X'd out before, I'm very sorry. I refunded everybody's money. But now we have it. We're going to try to start up again. Yes, in Canvas. Thank y'all so much for listening to me ramble. I'm sorry if I got off on a tangent and not what we want to talk about. but we will be back on next Thursday night. God bless y'all. Have a safe weekend. Stay warm, and I'll see you next time. Good night.